Babble Boys podcast. Here for our final segment of the day, Jeff, we're going to be talking about one of your favorite politicians.
One of my heroes. I got some of his books.
Mr. Rand Paul, who was, well, I don't know that he was physically assaulted, but there was a mob that attacked him or tried to attack him right after the RNC convention in D.C. And I wanted to point out that they were shouting, "Say her name."
The irony.
The irony. Speaking about Breonna Taylor. So let's get into this. So, as we can see, Rand Paul just got attacked by an angry mob of over 100, one block away from the White House. Thank you to the D.C. Police Department for literally saving our lives from a crazed mob. Rand Paul just got chased by a crowd back to his hotel after leaving the White House from Trump's Republican Party nomination. They were shouting threats to us, to kill us, to hurt us, but also threats shouting her name, Breonna Taylor. And it's like you couldn't reason with this mob. But I'm actually the author of the Breonna Taylor law to end no-knock raids. So the irony is lost on these idiots that they're trying to kill the person who's actually trying to get rid of no-knock warrants. Paul said he's authored 22 criminal justice reforms with Trump and former President Barack Obama, but the demonstrators were still yelling, "We're not going to let you go alive unless you say you're for criminal justice reform." I believe there are going to be people who are involved with the attack on us that actually were paid to come here, are not from D.C., and are sort of paid to be anarchists, he said. This is disturbing because really, if you're inciting a riot, that's a crime. But if you're paying someone to incite a riot, that person needs to go to jail as well. They were inciting a riot, and they would have killed us had the police not been there.
I mean, that's a lot to take in, you know?
It's become so dangerous for us, and I don't hear Joe Biden or Kamala Harris saying one thing about the violence. This mob is their voters. This is the new Democrat Party.
Yes.
And if we don't resist this, the United States is going to become Portland. We're going to become Chicago. All of these failed cities Democrats have run, the president said in his speech. If we allow them to take over the White House, we're going to become Portland. The country will be on fire. We have to have law and order. We have to support the police. I can't say that strong enough. And I don't think the country will ever become Portland. I do disagree with that, but I do agree that we need to have law and order. And I do agree with Rand Paul saying that they would have killed him. I genuinely agree.
It's possible, but that's the definition of a terrorist too. For governmental influence, pushing your demands out, for terror, for influence of government. It's the definition of a terrorist.
Domestic terrorism, yeah.
And Trump's right about this is the left voting demographic. These people out here doing this.
Oh yeah.
That's real. I mean, and it's months now. I mean, they're violent. I think they're terrorists and they're criminals. And Rand Paul very well could have been killed, And the irony is there's not a senator out there who's done more for judicial reform than Rand Paul. Not a one.
And I don't understand that either. Of all the people to come after, why him? I think it just boils down to they have no idea what he has done.
And here's the thing, most Americans, not most, maybe most, but a lot of Americans don't know basic government operations at any level of government, not local, not federal, not none of it. They're oblivious and they're ignorant. And quite frankly, Rand Paul's complexion and the party that he belongs to makes him an enemy.
Yeah, he has an R next to his name.
That's it. That's the only reason. They do not know that he fostered the Breonna Taylor Act, the bill to end no-knock raids, which he's been championing not since this year, for years. That's been his platform. Yeah. And they don't know that. And so, which makes me believe these people don't want change. They just want to be angry.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that. And also, the media is never going to the left-wing media is never going to bring that to the spotlight that he made that law.
Yeah, because they're going to be like, oh, well, the Republicans are doing something, or conservatives have been trying to do this. Wait, for years? You're telling me years? Why does it keep getting shot down? It doesn't matter. You're never going to get told it.
No, you're not. And
So,
he has other bills as well. Stop Militarizing Law Enforcement Act didn't
right.
pass, got shot down. Fifth Amendment Integrity Restoration Act, stop civil forfeiture, got shot down.
Decriminalization of drugs, ending the war of drugs, which disproportionately affects African Americans. He's been on the front line of all these things, and you idiots are out there trying to attack quite frankly, your strongest ally.
Yes. The irony is very strong, isn't it?
Yeah, and if you go on social media, the platforms, well, he was beat up by his neighbor too. Must be his thing. You guys are you're so dense and oblivious that you have the IQ of my mailbox. Like it's bad, and it's because you're spoon fed all your information and you lack any ability to think critically.
That's it. That I think that is the single largest enemy to our way of life. No one is thinking about anything. They see it and they act. No one's stopping and saying, well, wait a second. Is Rand Paul bad? Should we yell at him? Does he know it? What state is he from? Oh, the same state as Breonna Taylor. I wonder if he's enacted anything. Maybe we should look that up before we go and try and attack him. But
Yeah.
you're never going to get that.
Or if you're going to be out there, chanting, to tear down, and if you're an anarchist and you're out there trying to reform government to your means, and you don't even understand the most current of affairs, you have no business being out there. You have no business demanding anything because you don't understand anything to begin with. Like, bring people who actually understand government to the table and be like, hey, look, we would like to sit down and have a conversation on how we can fix this. And Rand Paul would be in that conversation. I promise you, he'd be one of the first people there. Be like, yeah, let's get this done. But because he has that R, and he's really not even a Republican. I mean, Rand Paul's pretty libertarian. I mean, you can argue that, but it makes no sense. I mean, this man is. I mean, he's one of my heroes because he's a small government, anti-militarization of the police kind of guy. So I don't know why he's a target at all. It makes no sense to me whatsoever.
Yeah, and again, it's just these people, they see the R, he's bad. And you know why they do that is because the media tells them that every single day. The media is creating enemies for these people that aren't really their enemies. Now, granted, they might not agree politically, but again, they're not your enemy.
No. And it's a real thing. You can want the same outcomes, but have difference in opinions on how to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see Kamala Harris doing anywhere close to the things that Rand Paul have done to try to help with judicial reform. Joe Biden definitely hasn't, because a lot of these issues stem directly from him and some of his bills.
Well, yeah, I mean, in terms of policing, I would say Rand Paul is on the opposite spectrum from Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
Absolutely. He would be on the side of the protesters, but these people are they're playing identity politics. So they're saying, okay, well, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are the people who support us, and they probably do support you in what you're doing, but they haven't actually done legislative actions. Like, they have not put their money where their mouth is. They just speak and they're like, oh, it's okay, you guys are tearing apart the country, who cares? But like, here's Rand Paul actually trying to get like legal reforms that he's been doing for years.
Yeah.
And like, well, he's got an R in front of his name, he's the enemy. It's stupid. It's aggravating. It's disgusting.
Well, they're going to support the riots, and they have been, but as we've seen the last 48, 72 hours, they're actually coming out finally and saying that they are actual riots. And you know why that is? Is because it's finally hurting them. So
yeah,
now,
did you see Don Lennon from CNN said, it's hurting our polls. So you don't give a shit about every American who's lost their livelihood, the people who've been murdered during these riots. You care because it hurts your polls. That's disgusting.
Yeah, I'm not surprised in the least. I mean, as soon as it starts hurting The Democrats, they're going to come out and come out against it, and then they're going to try and blame the violence on Trump.
Right, like the coronavirus is Trump's fault. That is such a logical fallacy that it's insane. Like
Yeah,
it's insane. It's identity politics. It's cultist behavior, and it's disregard for all citizens in the country, and it's a pool for power. That's all it is, and it's
mhm.
gross. It's aggravating.
Yeah, and as you said, just like the coronavirus. So with the coronavirus, that they all blame it on Trump, but Trump, there's a thing called separation of powers. Trump can't control what these states do. He can't. What
Right.
do you? He stopped travel, right? He issued mandates. He had Fauci up there. I mean, was it the best job? Probably not. But what else did you want him to do?
I mean, we have a whole 10th Amendment, man. You know, like states can make their own decisions. You know, like maybe he did wait too long to, implement the Production Act. Maybe. I mean, we could probably agree on that. But he was criticized for stopping travel. A xenophobe. Go
Yeah,
hug your Asian neighbor.
yeah,
So like it's all it is. It's finger pointing, and like they're both to blame.
agreed. And also, every day you see in the media they're attacking Trump over the coronavirus. And again, if all you have to do is just open your eyes a little bit and say, well, what should he have done? And if you can't come up with a solution that he had the power to do, then your opinion is mute.
Yeah,
I was
or like
having this argument the other day. Someone said, well, this country should have done what other countries did. And I said,
which country?
what did other countries do that we didn't do? Oh, well, they shut down
Most
earlier and for longer, and
most
that was
countries
like.
did not shut down.
And I said, okay, you want the country to be shut down longer? Okay, agreed. Sure. What about all the people that are going to be unemployed? What about their health care? And then I got to the point where if we do that, the Democrats are not going to give you what you want. You think Joe Biden would give you health care during a pandemic? No. He's not
It's
going
not
to
even
give
his
you
platform.
he's not going to give you a UBI while everyone's unemployed. It's not going to happen. They're not. People are coming up with these progressive ideas, and the Democratic platform is not progressive.
No, it, Joe Biden's platform does not give you insurance. If you would shut up and read,
Yeah.
like you would know this about Rand Paul if you would just shut up and read. It does not give you health care. He wants to expand the Affordable Care Act. He likes war. There's nothing progressive about Joe Biden. He
No.
might as honestly, he's not much different in policies than Donald Trump, but at least Donald Trump will say he doesn't want war. Joe Biden's all for it. So like, I mean, it doesn't even make any sense. It's more or less the left's platform. Vote blue no matter who is just anti Donald Trump. That's all it is. It's just Donald Trump's racist. Get him out. Get him out. Get him out. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter
Mhm.
if we are just as equally bad or way worse. Just get him out.
Yeah, and I've at least in the social circles that I have been in, people are leaving the Democratic Party, and you know what? As a Democrat, registered Democrat, I'm going to vote Republican down the line, and not that I agree with anything that they're going to enact. The Democrats, they have to be punished for this because they have a platform where they know you have to vote for them. They're never going to listen to you because they know they have your vote. They're
Yeah,
never going to give you what you
polarized.
want. They're never going to do it. They have to be punished. They have to realize that the people want something different than what they want.
And we'll think about it like this too. Like most of the states in New England, New York, and all, they're losing a seat in the House because they have so many people moving out. And what states are them people moving to?
Red
Republican
states.
states.
Yeah.
That's American people speaking. You have like 5 or 6 states that are losing a seat in the House, and they're all Democrat states because people are tired of being overtaxed and overregulated. I mean, it's a real thing. Like I live here in South Carolina. I'm not from South Carolina. You know how many New Yorkers come here? There's a ton
Yeah.
of New Yorkers here, and as we got De Blasio's begging for people to come back. No one's coming back, dude. your taxes are too high. You don't even have a middle class in New York because they can't afford to have a middle class. You either have the elite rich or the ones who live off the government, and that's your voting base because that's the hand, you're the hand that feeds them. It's real simple what's going on. Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. No, it's open your eyes, man. It's right there.
It is pretty obvious, but it's obvious to us as it should be to everyone. My question is, how do the politicians not see that? It's. I feel like they see it happening, but they're going to do nothing to curtail that problem.
Well, yeah, if you don't admit it, if you don't ever bring it up, it can't ever be an official problem.
Hmm.
Like if you never say like let's say like we were attacked by some terrorist organization. If you say their name, you're giving them legitimacy. They're not going to give legitimacy to the problem that their party's causing. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
But God bless Rand Paul. I'm glad everything was okay and turned out well with him because he's one of the very few politicians in DC that I truly think is a good person.
Yeah, and it's a shame. In 2016, he didn't. When he ran for president, he didn't get more airtime. I mean, hopefully he runs again, and I hope that he becomes more vocal because
Very
if
centralist.
if you hear him talk and describe policy, I mean, you're like, oh, well, wait a second, I agree with everything you just said.
Right. It like doesn't matter even like left or right or in the middle. Like you're like that makes a lot of sense because like he tries to cater to everybody, and that's the kind of statesman I like to have personally.
Agreed.
I was very heartbroken when Rand Paul decided to drop out. I think that he would have been great for this country, and I still believe that in the future that I'll back him. I'll listen to what he has to say and I'll back him.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of future presidents, I mean, he should 100% run.
Absolutely.
And I think he has the integrity to show people that some politicians are still good. There are plenty of shitty ones, but there are still some good ones.
I agree with that, man. I agree.
So, Jeff, it's been good. Everybody watching, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.
Hit that big bell.